welcome back. We're still talking to Suwandi SOH, the Chief Executive of Slicker Indonesia, on HR and accounting in the country, an application that they've launched recently to help not just large corporations, but mainly, of course, MSME that are currently growing in the country. So 57 million, right? It's a huge market.
Yeah.
And of course, like I said, the bigger question is how they can sustain their business through processes that are very efficient and also useful. But then again, this comes back to whether or not they have the infrastructure, for instance, the internet that connects them through the with the application. What is your target of growth? What is your projection? And by the end of the year, how many companies that you aspire to work with?
Okay. We are interested in number of employees that we can help.
Right.
So we are looking at the numbers like 100,000 this year, 100,000 employees that we can help in their HR administration. So that's our target for this year. So I mentioned that we actually have an interesting model because how to make this sustainable for small and medium businesses. Let's say you are 10 employees, you have 10 employees in your business. So we use an interesting pricing model. If you have 10 employees, then you need only to pay 100,000 rupiah per month.
Okay.
But as you grow, then you start to have like 100 employees or 200 employees. If you have 200, then you pay 200 per, and then 10,000 per employee, then you need only pay 2 million.
Right.
So it is sustainable because when you are small, you just spend a little. But as you grow, then you have the capability to spend, and you spend more. Yeah. And we have one version, and it's easy to make it more sustainable for all users. I have one example from one of our users. Let's say they used to rely on one HR person. It's actually a large companies, so they used to rely on one HR persons, and then everything is done manually.
Right.
One day, the HR manager decide to leave the company, and because things doesn't go well,
correct,
they help this person help all the HR informations.
Right.
Yeah, and it becomes a problem for the company because if you're a company, then you suddenly lost information about 1,000 employees. So these users, they switch to Cloud HR because they can assure that they have the system online, and then everything is backed up.
And it's accessible.
Accessible.
Whenever it's needed.
Yes, and Indonesian internet user is actually growing very fast.
Yeah.
Then we don't really worry about the infrastructure because we are quite confident that in 2 or 3 years, mobile
we have
internet.
over 100 million of internet users by
Yes,
2016,
exactly, 100
so.
million. Yeah.
So that's how it works. How long did it take, for instance, this specimen that you're talking about, the company? How long did it take for them to make that adjustment from losing that one HR person and recollecting data and computing it and using Slicker down the road? How long does it take for them?
Yeah, at that time it is around 1 month. Yeah,
that's not so
because
bad.
they need to collect more the data, and we are using employee self-service. So let's say I'm inviting 100 employees. Then actually the HR person or the business the owners, they don't have to fill in the information for 100 employees because the employee need to fill in by themselves. The HR will check the validity or the accuracy of the information. So it's easier in that time. And also for our accounting software to help the business to be more sustainable, the software itself has been 4 years. So we acquired the software 6 months ago. It has been around for 4 years, and it has a very good system, very good application, and it can be very sustainable also for small and medium business because the prices start at 100,000 rupiah per month to have a world-class bookkeeping software in your fingertip.
Right. And
that's
all that
what we
data is yours as well. All that data that has been computed and it's available at any time for the company to access and to process and what have you in the future.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
Now, this is a startup business, right? You yourself come from a startup. If we can have your perspective on the current startup ecosystem in the country. As we know, Indonesia is slated to be the digital powerhouse by 2025, and with the current very aggressive move by the government under Jokowi's administration, the Palapa Ring, for instance, and encouraging more and more company to move into the digital ecosystem. What is your view on this, and what is your perspective on the current startup scene in the country? A lot of people have been telling me it's very vibrant. What's your say about that?
Yeah, I think it's very vibrant, yes, very dynamic. And also, I tend to focus, I think, for myself, if we are looking at SaaS or software as a service space, it just started. So if we are looking at e-commerce or travel, they've been around like for a few years.
Correct.
Tokopedia, like 7 or 8 years. But if we are looking at software as a service or cloud application for business to business, and this is just the beginning, so we can see more in the next few years.
So there's great potential here in the country. And so if you like, you're a person who previously owns a company, runs a company in the business, and for you to make that jump, you jump ship from that into the startup scene. If you have an advice to other CEO who is been wanting to do the same thing or has a vision of doing the same thing, are you a coder?
No.
You're not a coder, but yet you're able to come up with this software. So nothing stops you there. But what would you say to our young CEOs out there who has been wanting or envisioned themselves taking that same road as you did?
I think I'm lucky to have several mentors. Yeah. So I think my advice to young CEOs is CEO want to be. Yeah. I think it's to start finding mentors. Someone who has been doing it right, and also someone who has failed in doing it so maybe from talking to them, they can have a wider perspective on whether to do it or not. Yeah, so my advice is find some mentors. Yeah.
Seek as many insights as you can before you jump and ship into that.
Yes,
all right, we'll move to our last segment. We'll talk more about Sleeker Indonesia and its challenges right here on The Perspective. Stay with us.